बोलिए.
I have a question.
हाँ. Joe and Geeta both. One Joe can start and then Geeta can next week.
You want to start or you want me to say?
Whatever, whichever.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is because long time ago you gave one example of a ladder that comes in Gita.
No, it was ladder of fall. Is that what you're talking about? That the word ladder has not come in Gita, but the
No, I
interpretation.
mean ladder means you gave the example when we were in this place. Okay, it is in my notes here, which I learnt a lot. It is like calm, growth, and all that they grow with.
Oh
the
yeah,
ladder.
yeah. That is we call it ladder of fall. Is there are two verses in chapter 2. We call जो
आप उसको थोड़ा explain कर सकते हो फिर से?
हाँ,
Because
sure. Very. I'll love to explain that. So basically, he's saying कि ladder of fall इसलिए बोला because जैसे कि एक बॉल हम फेंकते हैं लैडर से, राइट? लैडर समझो, सीढ़ी समझो, डोंट फॉरगेट अबाउट लैडर. जो हमारे घर में सीढ़ियाँ होती है ना नीचे जाने के लिए, किसी का 2 स्टोरी हाउस होगा. अगर बॉल फेंकेंगे तो शुरू में उसका मोमेंटम कम होता है, फिर वो मोमेंटम पकड़ के और सीधा गिर जाता है नीचे, राइट? उसका मोमेंटम बढ़ जाता है. सो ही वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट द 2 वर्सेस आर कि रॉन्ग थिंकिंग से शुरू होता है दिमाग में, रॉन्ग थॉट शुरू हुआ. वो रॉन्ग थॉट इफ यू कीप थिंकिंग इट बिकम्स अ डिजायर, क्लिंगिंग डिजायर इट बिकम्स, बिकॉज इट्स लाइक सुबह शाम सोते जागते मैं उसी के बारे में विचार कर रही हूँ और मुझे लगता है हाय उसके बिना मैं रह नहीं सकती. तो फिर वो डिजायर, तो एक रॉन्ग थॉट से कॉन्स्टेंटली थिंकिंग अबाउट इट बिकेम अ डिजायर. अगर वो डिजायर मेरी फुलफिल नहीं हुई तो क्रोध आ गया. सो द थर्ड लैडर में मतलब बॉल गया नीचे तो वो क्रोध में है. अब मोमेंटम पकड़ लेता है वो, बिकॉज क्रोध में क्या होता है कि द मेन थिंग दैट हैपन्स इज यू लूज अ मेमोरी, दे कॉल इट. हम ये भूल जाते हैं कि सामने वाला ने हमारे लिए क्या क्या अच्छी बातें की थी. सारी मेमोरी बैंक खत्म हो गया तो विवेक खत्म हो जाता है. When I don't have the memory, that's why people गुरु को गाली दे देंगे, माँ बाप को दे देंगे, बेस्ट फ्रेंड को दे देंगे गाली, because we lost our memory. हमारा विवेक खत्म हो गया and then we become like animals. विवेक भ्रष्ट हो गया और बेसिकली delusion बोला है उसको. क्रोध से delusion आता है. Delusion से means because of loss of memory होती है. Loss of memory से विवेक खत्म होता है and then you become like an animal. इन अ सेंस ह्यूमन बीइंग की जितने भी क्वालिटीज है वो तुम्हारे में रह नहीं गई. टेम्पररी इंसैनिटी जिसको बोलते हैं. और उस क्रोध में लोग क्या क्या नहीं करते हैं, मर्डर भी कर देते हैं. दैट्स व्हाट इज द लैडर ऑफ फॉल. एंड those are the 2 verses. I don't remember the number, but I think it could be 56 and 57 of chapter 2.
Right.
Is that what you wanted to know? Joe?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I can send in the thing exact verses and you can go and check on those verses.
Right.
Yeah. Geeta, what was your question or comment? Are you there, Geeta?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
So I was thinking about how to explain action and inaction, and inaction in action. So I wanted to go back. I was going back to my example, where I'm carrying a roti and then this hungry-looking person comes in front of me, right? So out of selflessness, I offer the roti to the person. Okay, and so there will be 2 results. The person will get the roti and I'll be glad. I'm glad that I was able to. This person won't be hungry for a little while now. But I'm a little worried about my lunch now. And the other outcome could have been that I'm still offering it with the same purity of purpose, like selflessness but a dog comes and takes it away. And so, I feel very dismayed. Oh no, he's still hungry and I also didn't get to eat it. And what about my lunch? So there's that feeling of dismay. So the thing is that because my action was done out of selflessness, it was, like I wanted to be sattvic. I'm trying to explain a sattvic motivation, So it was done out of sattvic motivation, totally. No gain to myself or anything. So I will get sattvic fruit for it, whether the outcome was that the other guy, managed to eat it or not, That, so now, and then we said that, well, but Bhagavan wants us to rise above the gunas. He's saying, Nistra gunyo bhavarjana, and he's saying, tasmat yogi bhavarjana. So Bhagavan is saying that a yogi is one who is without, nistra gun, above the gunas. So if a yogi came along at that time instead of me and had the roti, he would have given it again to the person. And if the person, got it, it would not have given him any kind of gladness, happiness or gladness out of it, because he would have figured, well, so it was in his bhagya to have the roti and not mine. And if the dog had come and taken it away, he would not have been dismayed either. Okay, it was not either in his bhagya or mine to have the roti. So that is not just selflessness, it is also non-attachment to the outcome. And therefore, that becomes inaction. And the yogi will not receive any fruit. It will not generate any spiritual fruit. So that's why, although he performed the action of, the same action which I did, of offering the roti to the person, but because he was not attached to the outcome, so it's as if his action was an inaction. And why do we say that it was like an inaction? If we, rewind this video a little and go back to before, like the yogi was walking along, and before the hungry person came in front of him. So the action has not been done yet, right? He hasn't offered it to the person. So there has been no action. It's like inaction, correct? And so because there has been no fruit. Because his action, which happened later, also did not produce any fruit, and inaction also did not produce any fruit, does not produce fruit, except there are examples which we'll get to. Therefore, that's what I think is meant by seeing inaction in action. We see that his action was actually like inaction because it did not produce fruit. And when we say that action can be burnt in the fire of knowledge, what does that mean practically? In this example, it's because the yogi he was detached, right? He was detached to the outcome. It didn't affect him either positively or negatively, whatever happened. And why was he detached? Because he had the knowledge. He had the knowledge that everything that's happening in this world is happening in totality. Everybody's karma is being worked out. And as we said, limited resources, and they all have to mesh somehow. So because he has that knowledge, therefore he was not attached to the outcome. So that is, and so it's the knowledge that turned his action into an inaction from the lack of attachment. So that's all that they're trying to say, that the knowledge has burnt the actions, as if the action doesn't exist because it becomes, as if it doesn't exist because it didn't produce any fruit. That's how I explain it to myself.
Yeah, that's fine. You explained it, and the whole thing is the same, whatever you said, and you gave a good example of this, because that we can understand that example, and you can see that in your whole story, everything has to do with your motivation and mental thing. The action can look the same, but the attitude and so the person who is jnani or who is at the highest ladder, nothing binds him. But the other people who are slightly below it, then it becomes sattvic and rajasic, and we are trying to stay more in the sattvic mode. So even in the beginning, so the way we look at it, एक होएगा आदमी जो बोलेगा देओ ही मत. So then you are at a totally tamasic level. And the other one might give it, but might think I've done a great job. So then it's a rajasic level. And the sattvic level will be slightly higher. He will say, God gave me this opportunity and I'm helping somebody and all that, and maybe even I might thank that person that you gave me the opportunity to serve you. That could be sattvic. But the jnani hai, he is so ekdam dancing to a different tune, like you said. Usko touch bhi nahi karta hai wo karma, because he is like knows at the highest level that, and he probably just does it because that is a part that has somebody has come in front of him and he needs it. Just give him. Finished. He's not even, it happens automatically by him.
Yes.
That's what it is. It's like a rose is blooming. It's not forcing the scent to come out. That is the nature of the rose. Mm-hmm. That's how those people work. The people who are at the highest level, they just do it. हम लोग को सोचना पड़ेगा ना, ओ दूं या नहीं दूंगी तो पाप होएगा. That guy just does it. So the same examples can be looked at many different ways. And the summary that I sent you, that Swami did such a fantastic job with summarizing chapter 4. And he said this particular verse, seeing action and inaction and the vice versa, is very difficult and many times misunderstood by many people. So we really have to do a lot of contemplation about it. And he took it to an approach which was a brilliant approach. He said it's to identification that I told you, that identification theory he calls it. If you identify with mind, body and intellect, then you become, you will be doing, even if you don't do anything, it is doing something. And the opposite, that if you don't identify with the body, mind and intellect, you may be doing 100 things and you are in action. That's how he explained it. Whichever way, you feel comfortable,
And so I think of, so that was explaining inaction in action. The action has been performed and yet it was equivalent to not being performed because it did not produce fruit. Then there's the other part of that shlok which says, and he who can see action in inaction. So an example that I thought of, which I'm not 100% satisfied with, but is like if something needs to be done and we don't do it, in English we also so often say that not taking a decision is also a decision, because
course,
that can
yes,
have,
yes,
that can also have consequences, So that could be one example of inaction of action in inaction, because by not taking the decision and not acting, we have caused either harm or good. And so
from the worldly level, yes, that's a very good example. And what they are talking about at the highest level, when you are thinking you are the mind, body and intellect and you have the doership, even if you're not doing, and one of the examples that this particular Swami gave in this talk, and you guys can go and listen to it, he's saying it's like a person who is sitting and trying to meditate, he's trying, okay? That's a good thing, that he's trying, but he's not doing anything. But he's still right now identified with mind, body, and intellect. So he is in action, he's doing action. That's how he explained it. But अगर किसी का वो छूट जाए ना, conditioning, or like what should I say, identification he calls it, that's when he becomes a karta. And then he may be doing 100 actions, but he's not doing anything, because basically he's not being affected by that. You look at us, whenever we do an action, हम लोग को कितना effect होता है ना उसका, कोई क्या सोचेगा, all that फल की चिंता हो गई ना, what will happen, will I get this, will I not get this, what will people think, that person. एक हिंदी में कहावत है, नेकी कर और कुएं में डाल, सुनिए हिंदी वालों स्पीकिंग लोगों ने, that's exactly what is coming from.
Right.
Because वो हम लोग अगर कोई अच्छा भी काम करेंगे ना, फिर वो 4 friends को फोन करके बोलेंगे, this is what happened, I did this and all that, नेकी कर कुएं में डाल.
Except for when it comes to charity, I feel that it's inspiring for others. So
That's why when I was talking about charity, I said it depends on what you are really thinking deep inside your mind. Nobody can get there. But I mean, Geeta ji, you know that in Krishna Bhagwan said about charity also. There is sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic.
Oh yeah,
charity.
of course,
Yeah.
of course.
So what mode you are doing? But the funny thing is, the person who is at that highest level, for him, there is no such word as charity.